room. This is the play that just occurred.
That's like she tries to slide over right there, and Hartley just kind of falls and makes collision with that lower leg. You see her immediately grab it. And she went down hard and was clearly in a lot of pain.
The arena went silent when Sophie Cunningham collapsed after a brutal knee collision. No foul, no stoppage, just another Fever player in pain, and fans furious that it happened again. But here's the twist. Instead of breaking, Indiana delivered one of the most unbelievable comebacks in franchise history. From Sophie's injury to Kelsey Mitchell's explosion, this game had everything: heartbreak, outrage, and a rally nobody thought possible. And if you think this was just another game, think again, because what unfolded will be remembered for years.
Shot clock down to 6 for the Fever. Turner, up fade. Turner kicks it. Hole three-pointer. Bottom!
Indiana,
7 on the shot clock, 25 seconds in regulation.
they gotta get to the rim.
Charles has to hoist and connects. Wow. The Indiana Fever prove their resiliency.
Before tip-off, the Fever weren't just underdogs, they were running on fumes. With Caitlin Clark sidelined from the groin injury she suffered in July, Sydney Coulson out with a torn ACL, and Ari McDonald recovering from a broken foot, the team had no true point guard left on the roster. Imagine a car without its engine. That's what Coach Stephanie White was dealing with. Instead of refining sets for a playoff push like other teams, she had to shrink her playbook to its simplest form. White later admitted the staff had to rethink everything: rotations, substitution patterns, even who could handle the ball without panicking under pressure. For fans, it felt less like a game plan and more like damage control. Nobody knew it then, but desperation was about to spark one of the greatest turnarounds this franchise had ever seen.
After Phoenix, it was a quick turnaround to figure out, how we're going to play without, Ari and Sid. And now we got to figure out how we're going to play without Soph. And we've got to figure out, who can play in certain roles. What are our substitution patterns going to be? What kind of wrinkles can we throw out there? It doesn't get easier. And I think we come back and have Minnesota twice, right? So it's really good mentally, physically, and emotionally for us. And then it gives us practice time, which we're going to need.
Midway through the second quarter, desperation turned into devastation. Sophie Cunningham, who had been one of the emotional leaders holding this thin roster together, collided violently with Bria Hartley under the rim. The sound of the hit echoed as Sophie grabbed her knee and screamed in pain. Teammates froze, the crowd fell silent, and even Connecticut's players looked shaken. Trainers rushed over, but what stunned everyone was the lack of a whistle. No foul, no stoppage, just a player lying on the floor in visible agony while play continued. It wasn't just one unlucky moment. Fans immediately connected it to a disturbing history: Caitlin Clark's groin injury, J.C. Sheldon's eye poke, Marina Mabry's reckless foul. Each time a Fever player went down, each time officials seemed reluctant to intervene. Sophie's injury became a symbol, a reminder that Indiana wasn't just fighting opponents, they were fighting for protection. And this moment would ignite outrage far beyond the court.
We got Sophie Cunningham writhing around in pain, definitely hurt, and Sophie's one tough cookie. If Sophie's kicking and screaming like this, no Will Farrell. She's in pain. We even have Connecticut Sun players. Look at that. Connecticut Sun players, Connecticut Sun training staff coming up to her as the Fever starts making their way down.
Outrage didn't stop at the arena doors. Sophie's family went public with their frustration. Her sister Lindsay blasted the league on social media, calling out officials for failing to protect players and labeling the situation pathetic. Those weren't empty words. They came from someone who had watched Sophie dedicate her life to this game, only to be left vulnerable by inconsistent officiating. Then Sophie's mother weighed in, describing Hartley's play as mean and reckless. Even though her post was later deleted, it spread quickly and ignited fan debate across platforms. This wasn't just a sports injury anymore. It became a conversation about accountability, consistency, and whether the league truly valued player safety. And in moments like these, when families speak out, fans listen, because if those closest to the players feel they're not protected, what does that say about the system?
How does she magically lower her shoulder into Sophie Cunningham's legs? Can somebody please explain that to me? Can somebody please explain those physics? Again, don't want to hear it, because this is a dirty player.
On paper, this game was already lost. The Fever were down 3-point guards, now missing Cunningham, rotations shredded thin. No one would have blamed them for collapsing, but instead, something remarkable happened. Instead of breaking apart, Indiana grew tighter. Each player seemed to carry an unspoken vow. If one of us falls, the rest of us fight harder. They weren't thinking about the scoreboard. They were thinking about pride, about proving to everyone, critics, officials, and opponents, that the Fever weren't going to be bullied out of relevance. And as the second half loomed, fans didn't realize it yet, but they were about to witness a performance that would flip the entire season's narrative.
Every day in our huddle, that's what we say together. And it's just more than words for us. I think when you see things happening, there's no other way. If you spread apart, the season goes down quicker than anything else. And we talk about with the injuries, people are probably expecting us to just fold, just like you said, and that's not us. We come in the locker room and we're motivated. We continue to be motivated every single time we step on that floor. At halftime, we were motivated, chip away, and that's our mindset. And just continue to uplift people. When one person goes down, we say it all the time, the next woman stands up. And that's really just been our motto and been what we've had to do a lot this season, and that's what we're just going to continue to do.
Kelsey Mitchell had been quiet in the first half, scoring just 4 points. She looked frustrated, maybe even rattled, but at halftime, something clicked. Teammates described her as locked in, almost unrecognizable from the player who had trudged through the first 2 quarters. The moment the third quarter began, Mitchell shifted into a different gear. Every possession, she demanded the ball. Every drive, she attacked with purpose. It wasn't about her stats anymore. It was about refusing to let Indiana lose. And viewers were about to witness one of the most explosive individual performances the WNBA had seen all season.
Oh, and Cunningham is down. My goodness. Should be. A scary moment as we went to commercial. Sophie Cunningham hit the floor hard, and she is being helped off the floor, heading back to the locker room.
By the end of the night, Mitchell had dropped 38 points, tying her career high and notching the highest single-game scoring output in the league this year. Even more staggering, 34 of those points came after halftime. Step-back threes, relentless drives, ice-cold free throws. And in overtime, when the Fever needed her most, she added 10 more points to slam the door shut. The Connecticut Sun tried everything, traps, switches, double teams, but nothing worked. Mitchell wasn't just scoring, she was making a statement. For too long, her brilliance had been overlooked, hidden in the shadows of bigger names. On this night, there was no ignoring her.
Bria Hartley deserves 0 benefit of the doubt. And Sophie Cunningham's family not too happy. I believe this is Mama C. Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing mean and plays out of control. Looked out of control to me. Maybe you should focus, her sister. Maybe you should focus less on finding players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are capable to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you. The only good thing positive surrounding Sophie Cunningham coming out of this game, she looked in good spirits in the locker room.
As Mitchell's shots kept falling, the chants grew louder. MVP, MVP. Even Caitlin Clark, watching from afar, echoed the sentiment with a simple but powerful tweet. MVP Kels. That wasn't just praise, it was validation. For years, Mitchell had been dismissed as a good player on a struggling team, but now she was leading the largest comeback in franchise history, proving she wasn't just a placeholder until Clark's return. She was a franchise cornerstone. Her name didn't just enter the MVP conversation, it kicked the door open. But Mitchell wasn't alone. Odyssey Sims, signed on a hardship contract just to help fill out the roster, stepped up like a seasoned veteran. She scored 19 points and dished 7 assists, but her real value came in breaking Connecticut's full court press and keeping the offense under control. Every time the Sun tried to force turnovers, Sims calmly navigated the pressure and got the ball where it needed to go. Without her, Mitchell's heroics might never have had the platform to shine. It was the kind of story fans love. A player overlooked, doubted, and given a temporary spot proving she belonged on the biggest stage. While Mitchell and Sims lit up the backcourt, Aaliyah Boston controlled the paint. Her 14 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks weren't just numbers. They were lifelines. She battled double teams all night, fought for second-chance rebounds, and anchored the defense when everything else looked shaky. It was her 15th double-double of the season, setting a new franchise record. And yet, Boston's performance was less about records and more about resilience. Every time Connecticut thought they could bully Indiana inside, Boston pushed back. She was the foundation on which this improbable comeback was built. Then came the shot that sealed it. With under a minute left in overtime and the Fever clinging to a narrow lead, Lexie Hull slid into the corner, caught the pass, and buried a three-pointer that sent the arena into chaos. It wasn't just a basket, it was the dagger that ended Connecticut's hopes. Hull's 8 points may not stand out in the box score, but that one shot will live in Fever history. In the biggest moments, it's often the overlooked players who rise. And on this night, Hull delivered the strike that finished the fight. Nobody saw it coming, and that's what made it unforgettable. Natasha Howard brought the physicality Indiana desperately needed. With 18 points and 9 rebounds, she gave the Fever toughness inside, absorbing contact, moving bodies off the glass, and keeping the offense balanced. Her scoring runs in the second half came exactly when Indiana needed to cut into Connecticut's lead. Without her bruising presence, Mitchell might have been forced to do it all alone. With her, Indiana had the muscle to match the Suns' physical style and finally turn it against them. Not every contribution makes headlines, but Brianna Turner's defense in the second half changed the game. She switched across multiple positions, closed out shooters, and disrupted the Suns' offensive rhythm. Coach Stephanie White praised her afterward, pointing to her impact on the plus-minus chart as proof. Turner may not have scored in bunches, but she delivered stops that gave Indiana the chance to rally. Without those defensive anchors, Mitchell's points would have been empty. With them, they became the fuel for a historic comeback. When the final buzzer sounded, Indiana had pulled off the largest comeback in franchise history, down 21 points, missing star players, losing Sophie Cunningham mid-game. And yet, somehow, they walked off the court with a 99-93 overtime victory. This wasn't just another win. It was survival turned into triumph. And for a team fighting to keep playoff hopes alive, it couldn't have come at a better time. Fans who had been ready to give up were suddenly buzzing with belief again, and the league had no choice but to take notice. The box score told part of the story, but the deeper truth was about identity. This wasn't just Caitlin Clark's team, or Kelsey Mitchell's team, or Aaliyah Boston's team. It was a collective. Every player had a role. Every player mattered. From Sims to Hull to Turner, Indiana showed that they weren't just surviving injuries, they were building a culture of resilience. And that culture, more than any single stat, is what will carry them forward. Sophie Cunningham's injury reignited the debate about officiating, consistency, and player safety. But the Fever's response, digging deep, refusing to quit, and turning disaster into history, sent a message to the rest of the WNBA: underestimate us at your own risk. Indiana may be shorthanded, but they're not broken. They're battle-tested, and with every setback, they only grow stronger. If this is what the Fever can do while wounded, imagine what happens when they're finally whole again. So, don't just remember this game for Sophie's injury. Remember it for what came next. The eruption of Kelsey Mitchell, the heroics of Sims, the backbone of Boston, the dagger from Hull, the grit of Howard, and the defense of Turner. Remember it as the night Indiana proved resilience can't be measured by a scoreboard alone. If you believe this team isn't finished shocking the league, smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, wish Sophie a speedy recovery, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter of this incredible journey.